Thanks so much for joining us. We are following that breaking news at this hour. Brooke Skylar Richardson has been found not guilty on all charges but one.
The jury did find Richardson guilty of abuse of a corpse. The jury reached that decision in about 4.5 hours. Our Evan Millward has been on this case since day one. He joins us now. And Evan, this is a case that moved really fast.
It moved really fast. A lot of people, though, were not surprised how fast this moved, but plenty of us were. 4.5 hours for this jury of 7 women and 5 men to find Brooke Skylar Richardson not guilty of aggravated murder, not guilty of involuntary manslaughter, not guilty of tampering with evidence, but guilty of abuse of a corpse. This all goes back to 2017 when she had a baby alone in the middle of the night in her bedroom or bathroom in the upstairs of her Carlisle home. She kept it a secret. No one knew she was pregnant except for her and a doctor, and then she buried it in a backyard. The prosecution said she burned it, and that later came out to not be true. You're looking at video of them reading this verdict today. Brooke Skylar Richardson showing the most emotion she has shown this entire 2-week trial. She cried as each of those verdicts was read, and then when it was all over, it was as if the dam opened up, and she cried audibly against her attorney, Charlie Ritkers, at that time, her defense attorney. We have, in the last hour and a half, shown you off and on here on 9 on Your Side parts of what I kind of call the post-trial press conference. We heard from her defense team. We've now heard from Warren County Prosecutor David Fornshell about this. At issue here, a lot of people feel like, lacking any medical evidence of what happened to this baby, the jury had to make up its mind. Did they believe that Brooke Skylar Richardson killed the baby, or did they believe that it was stillborn? Her attorneys say it was overcharged. Listen to what each side had to say about that.
This was well overcharged from the get-go, and it was so juicy for the government to think that, oh, not only did she murder her baby, but she burned her baby, which tainted the whole jury pool, which is what we were worried about from the very beginning. Ever since her indictment and ever since that news conference, we thought we were in a hole, and it was a really deep hole.
It's a shocking set of circumstances, and people don't think that somebody like that would be capable of doing something like this. And we understood that when we presented the case to the grand jury, which is the very reason why we backed up the aggravated murder charge with the involuntary manslaughter charge. In the event there were jurors who could not bring themselves to believe, if you will, that she was capable of causing the death of the child, the fact that she has this baby and, if you believe her account, it's in distress, not getting any type of medical treatment for the child at that point in time, if you believe that that is what happened here, then that's an involuntary manslaughter charge. So, in my opinion, no, it wasn't overcharged. I think it was properly charged.
As we were coming on the air, or just before we came on the air here, I asked Prosecutor Fornshell, was there ever a point that they considered pulling the plug on trying this case? What you need to know, if you haven't followed this case, is that much of this case hinged on one doctor's report that the baby's bones were burned. It later got pulled back and said there was no burning. That is what sort of sold this case to the public. And I asked Prosecutor Fornshell about that. He said at no point anyone in his office suggested that they pull the plug on trying this case. He said they felt they had to do this for baby Richardson, who we have learned through this case, Skylar named Annabelle. He says everyone in his office felt she deserved to have this case aired in open court.
Evan, it was interesting to hear both sides, the prosecution and the defense. What we do know is sentencing happens tomorrow. You've been there all week. How do you think the judge is going to handle that?
You know, you have to keep in mind, Kristen, we've asked everyone about this, both sides of this, that for 2 years this has gone on. Richardson spent time in jail. She is in jail tonight. That's how Judge Oda likes to do this, is that he likes to keep the defendants in jail before they're sentenced. Her team, her defense team, says they hope that he takes into consideration all that she has been through, the time she has served. When we're talking about a 5th-degree felony here, it's the lowest level felony on abuse of a corpse. We expect him to let her go under community control tomorrow.
And Evan, real quickly here, what really stood out to you the most during this entire trial? And was there some sort of a key piece of testimony that you heard that you were thinking what happened today would happen?
Craig, I'll tell you, what stands out to me the most about this case is how divergent it was. They even used different names for her. Her defense team calls her Skylar. The prosecution called her Brooke every single day. They were coming at this from polar opposite sides. We see which side the jury ultimately came down on here. I think some of the best testimony came from her brother. It was his 18th birthday yesterday. He spent it on the stand. He was a character witness. He really humanized her, and I think there was a lot of sympathy here for a girl at the time who was 18 and felt pressure to lead this perfect life and didn't know what to do. A lot of people feel like the character witnesses in this case and the evidence, the physical evidence that they showed between text messages and conversations she had, that they feel that she just panicked and that this is what happened as a result of what built and built and built. And we heard yesterday from one psychologist who believes she has a mental disorder that makes her want to please everyone.
All right, Evan Millward, you've been covering this case from day one. Thank you so much for your coverage today.